Thank you very much, Mr. Singh. A pleasure to be with you on NewsX, to listen to Professor Nalapat, Dr. Rao, and of course, in a little while, to Professor Srikanth Kondapalli. You have hit the nail on the head. Both the people who spoke before me, Dr. Rao and Professor Nalapat, have put it across very eloquently that it is time for someone to accept responsibility. We all know who is responsible. Question is, who's going to bell the cat? I believe the world is coming together now to do it. Sir, Professor Nalapat referred to the dysfunctional United Nations system. I couldn't agree with you more, sir. In South Sudan, a country that I'm privileged to serve, the UN stands for unnecessary. It's a 75-year-old dinosaur, and I don't know how many 75-year-old things you have in your home that you still consider useful. As a child, Mr. Singh, I always thought that Winnie the Pooh, the fictional anthropomorphic teddy bear, came from Winnipeg. So I'm not at all surprised about Chinese attempts to steal virological secrets from Canada's top microbiology lab. Everybody knows it has been done. This is the lab, in fact, that had first detected, I think it was in January last year, the first case of COVID-19 in Canada. It's worldwide, it's very well known, has a tremendous reputation, and it does a lot of cutting-edge research. What is frightening, as Dr. Rao said, is that we are now seeking to create China as a new generation of biological weapons that focus on genetic difference. It become racial bioweapon. You know, there's also a thing called CRISPR-Cas9, the genome editing technology for engineering DNA sequences to treat genetic causes of disease. This can also be misused, and it will be misused by China. So that, again, we have diseases, we have bioweapons that target not only particular ethnic communities. I wouldn't be surprised if they would stupidly try to target particular religions. Intellectual property theft is something that the Chinese have developed into a fine art. I'm not going to go into the history of what is happening, all the demands that have been made. The Canadian Parliament is asking, the Canadian media has been asking. But very interestingly, sir, this couple who was sacked in January, who were working there for a long time, apparently, according to media reports, they have 3 expensive homes in the Winnipeg area and somewhere else. And in one of them, there are 2 Chinese students who are living there. So when they were asked, where are these people whom you're giving rent to? They said, oh, we don't know who they are. We've never seen them. We transfer the money online to them. We have no idea who they are. And they expect us to believe that this kind of stupidity. Why would reputable scientists, Dr. Rao, Professor Kondapalli, Professor Nalapat, why would reputable scientists do this grave disservice to humankind? Why steal scientific knowledge and then use it for purposes that are not good at all? Sir, the answer is greed and misplaced loyalty. Greed is not a financial issue, Mr. Singh. It is a heart issue. Greed is permanent slavery, and we are seeing this, sir.
Dr. Kondapalli, does this show that the web is far wider than we initially believed? Every day, new revelations are coming out. Who knows, next week may bring another revelation. Interestingly, I must point out that the Sunday Guardian has been leading the Indian media in uncovering these international revelations. So perhaps next Sunday, we'll know something else. But Dr. Kondapalli, is this now, something, a very wide web with far wider ramifications than perhaps we naively would have thought at the start of the COVID pandemic?
The next episode will be that the MERS virus that emerged, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, that has been the experiment, the genetic sequence has been transferred to a London lab. From there it went to Winnipeg. And in Winnipeg, they tried the HIV related and also the Ebola, which is where the American scholars and the Canadian scholars helped in putting up these. And Chu Xiangko, the concerned scientist, had transferred much of that to China in her innumerable visits to Wuhan. And she now had filed a patent in violation of the Canadian patent law. She worked with the Winnipeg from 2003 till she was removed last year. And she filed the patent with a Beijing-based institution. Again, a violation of the Canadian patent law. This is very surreal. Canadian government is more busy with the peasant agitation in Punjab than with their own backyard. 25,000 Canadians killed, their own citizens killed, 1.5 million infections in Canada. Yet, like in the case of the Huawei chief daughter, Meng Wanzhou, where she is in arrest in Canada now, the Chinese arrested the two Michaels and put them in jail and incarcerated. Canada could hardly do anything, and they sent the two scientists back. There is a huge diaspora of the Chinese in Canada, the second largest after the Indians and others. It's a very loose kind of network, and you will see more scandals coming in. Canada was the first place, as Wang Hua, the former Chinese foreign minister, he began links with the Canadians, and then as a conduit, Canada played a role in the United States diplomatic relations before Henry Kissinger makes up in 71. So Canada was the conduit for the Chinese since the 1950s and 60s. And today, he is also the conduit for the virus.
Okay. Dr. Kondapalli, just stay with us. You know, let's now talk about next steps. The dirt in the system, the huge web is now there for all of us to see. What happens next? What should happen next? What can be done? Professor Nalapal, let me get you in here. What can be done next? These revelations are coming out. Should these revelations just be left out there for people to outrage and forget about? What can possibly be done going forward?
What can possibly be done is to educate the public, not keep this secretively within government records. I'm very glad that Dr. Rao, I can assure you, next week in Sunday Guardian, we are going to come out with more revelations. But I would like to say that who was the first major Western head of government to visit communist China? Well, none other than a gentleman called Pierre Trudeau. And coincidentally, the father of Justin Trudeau. So the Trudeau family's linkages and love for China go back several generations. Now look, I have no problem in love for China. It's a wonderful land. Chinese people are wonderful people. Chinese culture is magnificent. But the Chinese Communist Party culture is not Chinese culture. I mean, except in some parts here and there. And the Communist Party is certainly not the whole of China. And I'm sorry to say, Justin Trudeau, poor man, I'm not blaming him. Poor man, probably doesn't have the, what do I say, the sense to understand this, that communist China is, and the Communist Party of China is not China. And the Communist Party of China is a clear and present danger to the democracies, including Canada. The fact that these scientists and their guests are still free, running around the place, I mean, it just indicates how shoddy and shabby Justin Trudeau's security system is. I've seen some horrible security systems in my time in the Western world. I don't think anything compares with the Canadian system under Justin Trudeau. There's no system at all, frankly.
Okay, I've run out of time, but I'll give 20 seconds to Ambassador Vora before we conclude. Ambassador Vora, what should India's role be in this chorus now? How can India further put pressure?
Sir, let me put it very bluntly. It's not just India, it's a whole host of other countries that have been aggrieved by what China is doing. China is continuing to withhold crucial information. If evidence on the ground has been destroyed, the evidence exists in the mind of people. The existing international architecture seems powerless, especially the agency called the WHO, charged with protecting global health. How long will we wait to expose the greatest criminals in our lifetime? You recall the Nuremberg and Tokyo trials after the Second World War. Let me conclude by saying we have the ability to act. we will find the will to act. What we lack is too much time to act.